Now, many of you might already be familiar with the Google document that was leaked earlier that was entitled "We Have No Moat and Neither Does OpenAI." And what basically that document states is that OpenAI and Google do not have a viable business model as they invest in AI or AI in general. And so with the proliferation of open source AI, these models are they're not worth the investment. And so for those who don't understand this, a moat is an economic metaphor that refers to a business being able to maintain a competitive advantage over the competitors in order to preserve market share and profits. Any method that a company uses to maintain a competitive advantage can be considered a moat. And so the argument that's being made in the document is number one, that OpenAI and Google do not have a viable business model, and thus Microsoft and Google do not have a business model with AI, because there's so many now open source models that if you read the paper, they've even listed those open source models that are as good as OpenAI, and if they're not good, there's maybe 90% less good or not as good, so they're 90% as good. And the advantage with these OpenAI models is that they're free, number one. Number two, they're not limited. There are no sanctions on them. They're not left-leaning, right-leaning. In fact, they can be leaning anywhere you want them to lean. Whoever owns the business model, whoever owns the AI model, whoever trains the AI model, mainly controls how it works, and whether it's left-leaning, right-leaning, center-left, center-right, whatever your political orientation is. And so it's only as good as the data that it has, and the data will also vary. And so some models can be trained on political data, on side effect data, or even on SEO. And so there are a few things that I want to just pull up from the document. And there are a lot of things I don't agree with in the document, but I'll just go over because I'm an SEO guy and I'm not really a tech guy. I'm not really a coder. I'm not into software development. I'm not into any of that. And so I'm just going to touch upon the parts that affect us as SEOs or business owners that run websites. What parts are going to affect us. And so the first thing is, this fragmentation. Now, the more AI models you have, the more there's going to be fragmentation, and that means that if there's one model, people are going to be using that one model. But then if there are 20 models, then those users are going to be distributed among those 20 models, and so each model is also going to be inherently is going to be biased, and so it might be biased towards one business, it might be biased towards one country, one person, one political identity. And because they're not regulated by the government or any specific government entity, that would also mean that they have a lot of misinformation that has not necessarily been deliberately put in there, but it's being pulled from the data that has been openly available. And so a country, that has malicious intent could perceivably create a lot of negative information about another country which they're not really friendly with, and the AI model can be trained on that, and so all the information they have would be negative. And so whenever someone searched for information, it would be biased in favor of the country that developed the AI, or the person that developed the AI would be very against the person that they're not very friendly with. And so over time, what's that going to have is people are going to develop this mistrust of AI, like they have developed this mistrust of social media in general. And so even though a lot of people are using social media, they don't really trust what's on social media. And so they have built in mechanisms to verify and fact check stuff. And so that's going to be part of AI moving forward, and AI models that don't have a fact checking system in them are not going to work as well. Now, before I get into the parts where I think this paper is really important, at least for people who are doing SEO in the next year or so, or who want to get into the SEO game or want to run their websites, I want to take a second to say that I also do SEO for a living. So if you're looking for someone to do SEO for your business, there's a link in the description. Click the link for the form, and I will get in touch with you. So back to now, I just want to go back a second and to say that the models, all of these models are just as good as the information that they're trained on. And so if the model is not trained on very good information, the output is not going to be very good. Now, whether that's free books it's trained on, or forum posts, or political articles, it can be trained on anything. It can even be trained on text documents. And I think there's a model that already does that. And so as a writer, one of the things that you're going to be faced, and someone who does SEO writing, and I've been SEO writing in the past a lot, and so with an SEO writer, one of the things you're going to face is that a lot of these models can be trained on your style of writing, and you can train these models on your own style of writing. And so if you have a model that's small enough to fit on your computer or on a cloud server, and you own that model, or you train that model on your own writing, you can essentially have that model write your own articles on autopilot using your voice, using the way you write those articles, and it can pass all AI checking programs. And because that's your model, that's your specific that's just a writing style, but it's pulling in information from across the internet. And so essentially what this is going to mean is that most writers are going to be out of business, because you're just going to have a model that's doing the writing, and I can train the model on my own writing style, and I can output my own stuff. And there are already models that can do that, but they're not really CPU efficient, and so you might have to put them on the cloud and be a little more technically advanced to do that. But sooner or later there's going to be a package that you upload, and then you just connect to, and you start using the model. And there's one that's already doing that. It's just that I'm not at liberty to speak about it, but I am testing that model as well. Especially writers, people who are in the writing industry, a lot of the information out there, especially in terms of AI, would indicate that their writing career is over. And I'm not talking about SEO writers, I'm talking about people who write books, who write articles for magazines and stuff like that. The thing is that your SEO career is not, your writing career is not really over, because you're still going to be needed. You're still going to be needed to fact check a lot of the stuff. You're still going to be needed to edit a lot of the stuff. A lot of the stuff I see OpenAI putting out with ChatGPT, a lot of written content is not really that great. It's not really that diverse. It's not really that in-depth. And so you need a human writer to get in there and put in a few hours to fix whatever it's generating. So writers still have a job, but some writers may lose their jobs with the proliferation of open source AI models. When I was young, we had this thing that everybody was using the internet, and you could put anything on the internet. You can sell drugs on the internet. You could do anything you want, and there was no regulation. And then regulation popped up, and when that happened, people were kind of on the ground. There was a dark web and everything. We're going to maybe have like 20 models out there and open source, and people having their own models. But we're also going to see lawsuits kicking in, because if my model is scraping someone else's data and putting it in my words and putting out that information on my website, and I'm making money off it, that is going to be a problem. And we're going to see a lot of litigation. We're going to see a lot of lawsuits. We're going to see a lot of lawmaking going on. Right now, no one is doing it, except for maybe France and Italy, maybe a few other European countries. But this is going to be mainstream. There's going to be a lot of lawsuits. There are going to be a lot of laws. And so we have to be prepared for that. And so I will not use AI content right now, at least if I have a big enough website, or if I'm not just doing lead generation. Even in that case, Google is kind of not ranking those sites. So you have to fact check. You have to make sure your content is really good. And from an AI perspective, even if you're guest posting for backlinks, make sure that your content, even if it's AI generated, is really well written. So the question is, will SEO die? I don't see SEO dying, because the more models you have, the more SEO still survives, because people know that they can't trust the model, they can't trust any specific model. They have to go to a search engine like Google or Yahoo, and they have to type in the keywords. They still have to find things the old-fashioned way. They have to still trust websites, so they have to still trust your website for information, whether it's an iPhone review, whether it's a review of someone who is selling a service online, or whatever it is. They still have to go online to search for it, and so the AI model is not really going to be very helpful for them moving forward. And there's also going to be mistrust of the model. So SEO is not dead, and AI is not killing SEO. Google is going to be around for a few more years. It's not going to be killed off. Yes, their algorithm is going to go through some major changes in the next few years, but that's to be expected. And as always, guys, if you like the video, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.